Welcome to our first Platinum Partner demonstration for Public Sector Catering Plant-Based Week 2021. Today we are working with Devil's Kitchen, and as you can see, it's vegan food made wickedly tasty. Quick resume of the agenda for today before I hand over to David. David Fode will be chairing today's session as Group Editor of Public Sector Catering. He'll be doing a short interview with Dale Vince, OBE, Chair of Forest Green Rovers and founder of Devil's Kitchen, who is a character who I'm sure is going to have some really interesting things to say. We'll then go on to a demonstration by Jade Crawford, who's the head chef at Forest Green Rovers, before moving to a Q&A at the end. I think we're probably ready to go, so I will now pass over to David.
Right, good afternoon. I'm David Fode, editor of Public Sector Catering, and welcome to the first event in a week of activities that are part of Plant-Based Week. You hardly need me to tell you that plant-based food has moved from the fringes of the catering conversation right to the very heart of it. It doesn't mean that everyone is suddenly turning vegan, but it does mean that all your customers are increasingly comfortable with the idea of choosing plant-based dishes, and they're actively looking out for these on menus. It's a trend that is fast-paced, hugely driven by environmental and health concerns, and you need to react to it. And that is where help from suppliers come in with ingredients, finished products, recipes, marketing and promotional support. We're lucky today to be joined by just such a one, Devil's Kitchen, a new vegan food manufacturer. And I'm very happy to welcome Dale Vince, the man behind this pioneering brand, as well as the chairman of Carbon Neutral English Football League 2 club, Forest Green Rovers. He's also the founder of Ecotricity, a UN climate champion, and holder of an OBE. Good afternoon, Dale.
Yeah, how you doing?
All right, thank you.
Nice.
Right, it might be useful just to sort of lay a little bit of background before we move on to the cooking demo, Dale. So this is the first day of our Plant-Based Week series of events, launching quite fortuitously on the day that the food service industry starts to reopen to indoor hospitality. And I see that Forest Green Rovers are going to be allowed fans into their playoff semi-final this week. How important do you think it is to get fans back on the terraces and enjoying your food and drink, obviously?
Well, you know, I think it is important, but it's not the most important thing. We've been playing for this whole season so far without fans. I think we had one pilot game in September when we trialed the process and stuff, and fans are definitely missing from football. Football players miss it in particular. I've got used to it, so I'm okay with it. And I think it's just not the most important thing that we get fans in and we feed and drink them, feed and water them. But it would be really nice to do. You know, it's kind of, for me, it's part of getting back to normal, but not the most important thing in the world.
No, sure enough. Okay. There is obviously that side of your sort of life, and it's sort of the part of the Devil's Kitchen story as well. We could actually go into and talk a lot about, but it's probably best, as you say, to focus really on the food. And I think it would be interesting for people to hear just a little bit, perhaps from you today, about Devil's Kitchen venture, how it started, where the name came from, and you know what's the motivation behind it.
Yeah, surely. So it started with Barry, who I think you've got on the show here today. I think you might be talking next or something. It started with Barry approaching me by email saying, look, I've got this idea to make plant-based school dinners. And I liked the idea. We talked about it a little bit. I thought what he said was making a great deal of sense, and he understood what he was talking about, the market, the food, all that kind of stuff. And so we said, let's give it a go, you know, and we aimed to make plant-based food for primary schools. For me, that was a really important thing to do, Barry as well. And we formed the company, and the name itself comes from the football club. Because we've been pioneering plant-based food there for, I don't know, nearly 10 years, our food outlets for our fans have carried the name Devil's Kitchen since then, because we're the Green Devils as a football club. And so it just made sense to me. And we created a sub-brand called Little Green Devils for kids. And we thought that the association of plant-based food with football would be a good one, that we could get kids interested and excited about that because it came from a football club. So that's how it all came about, really.
Okay. So you started on using the heritage of the Devil's Kitchen around the football club, created Little Green Devils. How have you now then taken the whole idea of Devil's Kitchen forward beyond the Little Green Devils then?
I think the food has carried it forwards, actually. We found such a strong response from primary schools, from kids, from teachers, from the catering trade as well, that it grew rapidly from primary to secondary, even to senior education, universities and stuff like that. And then quickly into public events, other football stadia, stuff like that, just before the pandemic, when, that came along and shut everything down. I think we're at about 2,000 schools by then, and we've probably been running, 18 months or something like that. So I would say it's the food really that's led the way, because it's such fantastic food. And it's heritage coming from a football club, the fact that we make it powered only by the wind and the sun, and that all the ingredients are just plants. There's nothing untoward in the ingredient list, and we're free from 14 major food allergens. I think that all helps caterers because it's super inclusive food and not something that's going to give anybody a problem. But beyond that, I think most importantly, it tastes great, and that is what's
very, very important.
Absolutely. And so January, we achieved a new milestone for us, which was that we got into retail for the first time, online supermarket, Ocado. Carry the two burgers and balls, actually, so 3 of our ranges, and it's been just super successful there as well, and all of the feedback we get from football matches and stuff like that is that it's amazing food. So I'm kind of really excited to be where we are, and to be able to have an impact in schools, in the whole education sector, and beyond that into the kind of wider world of retail and catering. It's a fab place to be.
Yeah, interesting point there, because you obviously mentioned schools and possibly universities. I wonder whether, if you sort of consider the wider public sector that is our audience, whether you see your products fitting in there as well.
Yeah, totally, because it's the same kind of concept. it's about mass catering without wanting to make it sound too big and unglamorous, but it is about catering for a lot of people. And I think it fits perfectly in schools. In particular, we had to price match the animal-based products. That was key. They're very price sensitive. We did that. That's not a problem. Last week we had a follow-up to a series of discussions we're having with the organizers of the Paris Olympics. And they're really interested in our experience as a football club and as Devil's Kitchen, because if they can, they want to make the next Olympics as vegan as possible, which really excites me as a possibility. And you couldn't get more mass catering than that. We're talking about millions of people over a couple of weeks.
Okay, brilliant. Now you've got a cooking demo to show us. Is that something you can tell us a little bit about?
I don't know actually much about it. I know that Jade's doing it, our chef at the club. I haven't seen it myself, but I've eaten what she cooks, and I can recommend it, but I haven't seen the video. All
right. Okay. Well, just for the benefit of those of us who are going to be watching, I'm told Jade, who is the head chef at Forest Green Rovers, is going to run through 3 dishes. There's a vegan, and you'll have to excuse my pronunciation here, Malai kofta, a vegan toad in the hole, and a vegan Jamaican jerk burger stack. So perhaps we can run the video and see Jade cook those now.
Hi everyone, my name's Jade. I'm the head chef at Forest Green Rovers. Hi everyone, I'm Jade. I'm the head chef at Forest Green Rovers. This is my kitchen. We are known as the world's greenest football club. Today we're working with the amazing products of the Devil's Kitchen to show you some menu inspiration for your autumn-winter menus. We're delighted to be part of Plant-Based Week, so hopefully you enjoy. So the first dish we're cooking up for you today, we're using the Devil's Kitchen plant balls, and we're going to be making a classic, traditional, warming, hearty Malai kofta. So let's get started. First things first, we've got our frozen balls. We're going to lightly oil the tray and we're going to put our balls in and cook them in the oven on 170 for 14 minutes. Also going to the oven, we have some bite-sized bits of cauliflower and some green beans, lightly oiled, and they'll go into the oven for the same amount of time as the balls. Okay, they're in. Just going to finely dice the onions and tomatoes. And the onion and the garlic will be the first thing to go in the frying pan. And this is to make the base for the sauce. Right, so I'm just going to cut the tomatoes into quarters. And these will be fried with the spices, onions and garlic. Okay, now we're going to make our sauce. And the base of this sauce, and most sauces, is onion and garlic. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in there. I'm going to add the finely diced red onions into the pan, starting to sizzle. Okay, I'm just going to cook these for about a minute until I add the garlic and ginger. You don't want to cook your garlic for too long because it can burn and become sour. So you want to make sure your onions have been cooked for a minute or two first before adding them. Right, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of ginger. And then add your 1 clove of garlic. Okay, so in order to activate your spices, you want to cook them for at least a minute. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add some cumin, some ground coriander, and some chili powder. Now give that a mix. So now the oil is all kind of soaked in. If you need to lube the pan up a bit, instead of adding more oil, you can add water, just a little bit, to stop the onions burning to the pan. If you do get some burn on the bottom of the pan, it's not, just scrape it off because it adds to the flavour. It's not the end of the world. Now we're going to add the tomatoes, which will help lube up the pan anyway because they're full of water. So tomatoes, give that a mix. I'm going to cook the tomatoes for about a minute just to soften them up. So they'll soften whilst they're simmering in the sauce as well. Now this, obviously we put chili powder in here. If you're catering for school children, you can adjust the amount of chili you put in, or, you know, if you're catering for, depends who you're catering for. Right, okay, now that they're done, I'm going to put in a can of coconut milk. Turn it down to a medium heat. You can see all the tomatoes have let out their juices. All the flavours are going to come together really nicely. Second can of coconut milk has just gone in. And now we're just going to add a splash of lemon juice. Whoop. Let that simmer for a couple of minutes, and then we're ready for the balls to go in. Right, so here we have our Devil's Kitchen balls straight from the oven. So I'm going to add them to the sauce, let them simmer. These balls are made from pea protein and oyster mushrooms. They meet the government's 2024 guidelines for salt, very low in saturated fat, and they are free of the 14 major allergens. So of course these balls are 100% vegan, which makes them really inclusive. So also out the oven, we've got our roasted cauliflower and green beans. And I've made some rice as well to go on the side. So to make up our meal pots, I've got some biodegradable containers, which is the only thing we use here at Forest Green. So first of all, I've got some basmati rice, the traditional Indian rice. I'm going to put some in the pot. Layer it on the bottom. Then I'm going to add some of our crunchy veg that has added sweetness from the roasting, just on top. Then I'm going to add some of our delicious Devil's Kitchen plant balls. And then finish off with some more sauce. And a generous sprinkle of coriander. And there you go. A healthy, delicious and nutritious meal from Devil's Kitchen. So for our second recipe, we're going to be doing the classic winter warmer toad in the hole. And for that, we're going to be using Devil's Kitchen's English breakfast sausages. First of all, we're going to make our batter to go around the sausages. Step one is to add the flax flour to our mixing bowl. And we're going to add half of the oat milk in with the flax flour. Now I'm going to whisk this for about 2 minutes, and this is to extract the soluble proteins from the flax powder. Okay, so now the 2 minutes is up. As you can see, the batter's got, well, the mix has got a bit thicker. So now we're going to add the flour, and this is strong bread flour. Boing. And carry on whisking. So I'm going to add a bit more oat milk and carry on whisking. So we've extracted a lot of the gluten from the flour. So now I'm going to add the rest of the milk. Okay, perfect. That's really good batter consistency. So now I'm going to add some potato flour. If you don't have potato flour, you can also use corn flour. Also some salt for seasoning. And give that a little whisk. And here we have some organic rapeseed oil. Just going to add that in. Here we have a mixture of baking powder and bicarbonate soda. I'm going to mix that in as well. And the last step, we have apple cider vinegar, which I'm not going to add until the dish is ready to go in the oven. And I'll tell you why. Okay, now that is a perfect thick batter. Right, so I've got my cast iron pan for what we're going to cook the sausages in. I've added some rapeseed oil around the sides and on the bottom, and we're going to put this in the oven for a couple of minutes to heat it up. The oven is set on 220. Right, so pan's nice and hot out the oven. Just going to leave that there and grab my sausages. So here we have the Devil's Kitchen English breakfast sausages. These are also free from the 14 major allergens. They're made from pea protein, and they're a take on the traditional English sausage with very herby notes with nutmeg and maize coming through. As you can see, they're sizzling. So I need to get the batter in. First of all, I need to add apple cider vinegar to the batter. And that's going to start to react. The reason I add this at the end is because the apple cider vinegar is going to react with the bicarbonate soda to create the bubbles. So we need to act fast with that. If you can't use apple cider vinegar, you can also use lemon juice, which will work in the same way. Okay, so once you've coated your sausages, but not completely, because you want your sausages to be sticking out, you want to stick it straight in the oven. Okay, so that's gone in at 220. We're going to keep it in there 5 minutes on 220, take it down to 180, cook it for an extra 20 minutes, and then take it out. Look at that, that looks absolutely amazing. So impressed by that recipe. So as you can see, it's like brown, crispy, the sausages are cooked nicely. Cool, so now we have our toad in the hole ready to go. I've steamed some vegetables. We've got some tender stem broccoli, some kale and some carrots, and we're going to drizzle some delicious gravy on top, and that'll be a really nice vegan toad in the hole meal. So I'm going to cut This will be enough for probably about 6 portions. And again, if you need the recipe for 20 people or more, it'll be on the Devil's Kitchen website. You can see nice and crispy on top, nice batter consistency. Load it with loads of veg. And this is the perfect winter warmer meal. Finally, we're going to add the gravy. Right, so here we have it. 100% plant-based, toad in the hole. Absolutely delicious, nice and crispy. Steamed vegetables. And this was using Devil's Kitchen English breakfast sausages. Okay, so for our third dish of the day, we're going to be making Jamaican jerk burger stacks. And first off, we're going to be making the mango salsa. So we've got a nice sweet red pepper. Just going to finely dice everything in the salsa. So this salsa will be a mixture of sweet and sour and nice and tangy, which will really complement the jerk burger and add Caribbean flavour to the burger stack. Okay, so next we're going to put in the red onion. Okay, so finely dice that. Right, so next of all, we're going to stick in our mango. I'm going to cut it, shave off the skin. Now, if you don't want to use mango, you can also use frozen pineapple. That will also create a nice Caribbean jerk flavour. Beautiful colours mixing together. Two last things we've got to put in is lime juice, lime zest, and then some mango chutney to finish it off. So I'm going to zest my lime first. Oh, I love the smell of that. So fresh. Juice of 1 lime, squeeze. Pour the lime juice into the salsa. And then start off with a tablespoon of mango chutney and see how you get on. Give it a mix. Now you want the mango chutney to act as a binder for the salsa. It's looking amazing, smelling unbelievable. So fresh. And there we go. Tangy, colourful, sweet, sour, amazingness. Okay, so now we have our delicious salsa ready to go. I'm going to make the guac very quickly. So just open this avo. One of my favourite foods, dips, whatever you want to call it, of all time, is guacamole. Goes with everything. Healthy, full of good fats. It's just the best. Obviously, your guac you don't want to make too far ahead of time because it starts to go brown, but to stop that you can add some lemon juice or some lime juice. Anything acidic will help stop the browning process. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Time to put the burgers in. Right, so here we have Devil's Kitchen's vegan Jamaican jerk burgers, rich in protein, 24% fruit and vegetables. They're 1/3 of the saturated fat of a premium beef burger. We are cooking them from frozen and in the oven today, but you can cook them on the griddle, barbecue, however you want. Right, so now we're going to start to build our burger stack. Here we have a vegan brioche bun. I'm going to put some lettuce and then a slice of beef tomato on there. Amazing. And now a nice big dollop of crushed avo. Whee. So we've got a few minutes now until our burgers are ready from the oven. So now we're going to griddle our bananas and then we're going to complete our stack. Grab a big slice out of these bananas. Right, so you can also use plantain instead of bananas. Bananas are obviously easier to get a hold of and cheaper. The plantain's more savoury and the bananas are sweeter. So depending on, you know, what kind of taste you want to go for, but either will work really well. So now we're going to griddle the bananas. You might not be able to hear me through the fans, but let that heat up a little bit. You hear them sizzling away. So you should only need about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Don't want them to stick to the griddle either. Ooh, nice. So I've just got the burgers out of the oven. Look how amazing they look when they're cooked, and they smell delicious. You can really smell the like tangy jerkness of it. So we're gonna stick our delicious patty onto the heap of guac. Grab our sizzling banana. Look at all the amazing brown lines. They make it look so good. Okay, and now for the salsa. Spoon that on top. Yes. Oh, smells so good. You know, some people might not choose to have coriander, but I absolutely love it. So I'm going to stick some coriander on top. And there you go. That is your vegan Jamaican jerk burger stack. Voila. Right, so there you have it, a Jamaican stack burger. We're just going to put it in our biodegradable container and add a bit of salad, just for some serving inspiration for you. Bit of salad on the side, all those amazing colours. So if you want any tips on drizzles and dressing, speak to Gavin at Devil's Kitchen. He's the absolute expert of everything dressing. Right, so there you have our amazing Jamaican jerk burger. And that concludes our 3 dishes. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions or anything, you can go onto the Devil's Kitchen website, or you can contact me via Instagram and Jade's Green Kitchen. If you want any more information on the Devil's Kitchen products, you can just go on thedevilskitchen.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the plant-based week.
Right, well, although that was obviously recorded and she can't hear us, our thanks to Jade for that. Very interesting, very great looking dishes, I thought. There was a little bit of a chat, people asking about the availability of the recipes. They are available, as Jade said, on the devilskitchen.co.uk website, and they're also available on the Public Sector Catering website as well. Right, that's the sort of the cooking demo that's come out of it. Dale, perhaps I can turn to you first. From those 3, what would be your favourite?
Actually, I'm a fan of toadless whole, as I prefer to call it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I think I'm probably a bigger burger fan. And, you know, the salad was nice, but I think you need to see some chips in there. That would be my slight tweak to Jade's recipe there.
Yeah.
And I'm a bigger fan of the shiitake mushroom burger. It's the best burger that I've ever tried in 40 years of being veggie or vegan. I like the Jamaican one, but shiitake mushroom, I thoroughly recommend that one.
All right, okay. Perhaps if I could just sort of take up the point about the toadless, toad in the hole that you refer to there. I mean, it's well known that at Forest Green Rovers, you made this decision that you were going to put a sort of vegan offering on. I think people would be interested to know how you went about doing that, because I can imagine that there were probably a lot of traditional fans who expected their sort of burgers and meat pies. What was the way to persuade them? Well,
there's 2 ways I could answer that. Firstly, we didn't offer a choice in terms of direction of travel. It's just what we did. We changed the menu. We did it piece by piece. We banned red meat to begin with. This is what the Sun called it. We actually just took it off our menu. but they called it a ban, which made it kind of exciting for them anyway, and for other people. And then we took white meat off, and then fish, and transitioned over 3 seasons to being vegan. And yeah, there was a small element of our fan base that at the beginning said, oh, what's happening? They were a bit cross. Some of them, they thought they were being dictated to in terms of food choice and stuff like that. And we explained that that wasn't what was happening, that we were just setting the menu according to our principles, which every food establishment does. And our principles, of course, were a little bit different to most in that, we didn't believe in eating animals. And we said to them, look, a football game is on average 2 hours every fortnight of your life, So why come to a football game and expect to eat what you eat every other day of your life? Why not come and try something different? And we put on a range of very different food for football, like falafels, for example. It's not something you would commonly find in football, but it's fairly straightforward. And we made it all by hand. Is great food. The bar in football food is, of course, super low in terms of quality and taste. So that was an easy bar for us to leap over in terms of what we provided. And we said to our fans, why don't you just come and try it? And if you don't want to, then just bring your own food, because we don't care. We're not telling you what to eat. We're just saying this is the food that we believe in. They came, they tried it, they loved it. So in 10 years, our fan base has gone up 4-fold, and our food sales have gone up about 6-fold. So the proof of that is in the pudding.
Yeah, very impressive statistics you've got there. How important was it to make sure that what you offered was really very, very good vegan food?
I think in my experience and all of the things I've done, if you're presenting a green alternative to anything, it has to be at least as good as what you're replacing. So we have an organic football pitch. It has to be at least as good as a non-organic football pitch. We built an electric car, the Nemesis, in 2010. It had to be at least as good as it was a supercar, so it had to be comparable. Food is no different, because when people see a green alternative, they think it's going to be inferior. And what we want to avoid is people saying, yes, but, yes, it's an organic pitch, but, look at it, kind of stuff. And so I think it's actually super important that you make food that is at least as good, or if not better. And we made it far better. I mean, honestly, far better than the food that was at the club before we got there. So I think that made it really quite easy, because our fans could absolutely tell the difference. And there is a psychological barrier for people when they think about vegan or plant-based food, because they think of it as food with something missing. They focus on what's not in there instead of what is in there. And so I think it's fundamentally important, for example, in the naming of things. So if, for example, we were serving a black bean lasagna, I wouldn't label that a vegan lasagna. I would name it for what's in it, a black bean lasagna. And I think that's important, because otherwise too many people come to this and they're focused on what's not there. They should focus on what is there.
Yeah, very, very interesting point. Barry, perhaps I can turn to you now. What's Devil's Kitchen doing to make the vegan foods that you produce as affordable as those made from meat?
Hi, David. Well, we're doing lots. It's really important work. So we source all our ingredients. We produce in our own facility, and we supply direct to wholesale. So we can help keep costs down for caterers, and we're prepared to work to very tight margins to help facilitate that shift away from processed meats. However, rather than make the very cheapest vegan products that we can, we source the very best quality textured pea protein that we can get our hands on in Europe. We incorporate other ingredients like oyster mushrooms to add interest and add umami and add that difference in texture. And I know these ingredients are more expensive than using soy or wheat, but it also helps to make them as inclusive as possible, so they can be enjoyed by as many people as possible.
Okay, and just on the sort of the nutritional side of things, because I think that there's a sort of a perception, perhaps less so with caterers, but perhaps more with the people they're actually serving the food to, that they might be missing out nutritionally on a plant-based dish. What sort of reassurance can you give the caterers to help pass on to their customers?
Yeah, it was when we first started out. It was the first question people were saying, what's the protein content, as if something was going to be missing from that perspective. So all of our products are rich in protein. Even the ones that are packed full of veggies, like our Moroccan-style vegetable balls or the Jamaican jerk burger that Jade was cooking up. Jamaican jerk's got 24% fruit and vegetables in it, but it's still rich in protein. So I say nutritionally, we're really got nothing to fear about trying a plant-based instead of a meat equivalent. And there's benefits too. So we're obviously very focused on the salt content of the product. So all of our products hit the 2024 levels, and all the education ones, the ones for primary schools, hit the lower targets for salt content, but and sat fat as well. So if you look at those two areas, that Jamaican jerks, as Jay said in the video, about a third of the sat fat. Products like our plant balls, which also featured, is less than 1% sat fat. So yeah, nutritionally, really viable choice for caterers.
Okay, I had just a sort of another question on the sort of nutritional line. Free from, and I mean, you've said, and Jade made the point as well about the being free of the sort of 14 allergens, but there are other sort of food intolerances and sort of preferences, I guess you would say. How does what you produce fit with the sort of the idea of being able to provide something that's acceptable for as many people as possible?
Well, yeah, it's a challenge, and if you're a school caterer, it's a minefield as well. So we had a person get in touch just the other day saying, yeah, the 14 major allergens, avoiding those is helpful, but we have a kid who's got a severe pumpkin allergy. So unfortunately, we do include pumpkin in. If you're unlucky, you can have a food allergy to any ingredient. So we take care. We audit all of our ingredients. We do random testing on ingredients to make sure we can stand by that free of the 14, and we have the information readily available. So if there's caterers who are serving people with more obscure or less common allergies, then we have that information ready to go. So there's no surprises, and they can serve our products with confidence and let their consumers know what's in our foods.
Okay, thank you for that. We saw there 3 of your products showcased by Jade. Can you tell us about some of the other sort of products in the range that might be appropriate for a sort of a public sector catering setting?
Yeah, so we have a wide range of products for schools, and those as Dale said, we now supply. It's getting towards 3,000 schools now. So we've got products that are more geared towards more familiar in terms of being meat-free, but not necessarily loaded with vegetables. So if you've got customers that may be taking their first steps, so we have our plant burgers. For secondary schools, we've got our spicy vegan burgers. And for those who are a bit more adventurous or want to try new things, we have a couple of new things like our Thai green curry style burger, which really is like nothing else. Again, packed full of veggies and flavor. It really is extraordinary. And that's perhaps if you're looking for a bit more luxurious product or a bit more sophisticated flavors, we've got a range, and the aim is that we create something really for everyone. Obviously, it's got to be affordable at different levels, but yeah, if you look at our website, thedevilskitchen.co.uk, you can find details of the full range.
Okay, and what about the availability? I mean, that's come up in the chat. I've noticed, but people wanting to know perhaps if they were interested, where they could sort of source the products from.
Well, we're a baby for business. We're just getting going. We're keen to make more friends, but the products are available from a growing range of caterers. Some are call listing that of wholesalers. Sorry, some are call listing the products. Some are serving, supplying them as nominated lines. But the reach and the availability is growing all the time. So if I haven't seen the comments, but if there was anyone particular, I can respond to those a little later. Yeah. But the aim is that we make our products as accessible as possible and remove the barriers for people to try them.
Thank you. Dale, perhaps if I can just come back to you now. We heard a little bit about the products. As a company, Devil's Kitchen, what are your sort of rather long-term plans for it? What would you like to see happen?
Like everything that we do here at the with the Green Britain Group, and the main part of us is Ecotricity, a green energy company, but everything that we do is motivated to bring about sustainability, to change the way that we live. And money is a secondary consideration. So that's also a factor in one of your first questions to Barry: how do we keep the price down? One part of the answer to that is we're not motivated by money, and we're quite happy to break even. But to answer your question, our ambition is to really help the takeover of plant-based eating, to replace animal products in our diet. So big sustainability issues, human health issues, and of course animal rights issues as well. And it's a change that we want to help make happen. So we're hoping to grow to be a considerable force in the food sector.
Okay, and if I can just sort of finish on a slightly non-food related topic, the playoffs, Forest Green Rovers.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, our first game is tomorrow night against Newport at their place. And then the following Sunday, it's back to our place for the second half, if you like, of that tie. And I think we're in with a very good chance. We made a change of head coach 6 games ago. We'd hit a very bad run of form, and we found the change has inspired our players. It's been a dramatic change in belief, energy, performance, everything. So I think that we have every chance of winning the playoffs. If we get to Wembley, especially if we make the final, I think we'll win it. That's what I think.
Well, that will be lovely, and I wish you the very best of luck on that. Nothing against Newport, of course. Barry, did you want to just sort of finish up with a little sort of just short summary of Devil's Kitchen, how people can contact you if they need to, just to sort of wrap things up?
Sure. They, if they leave any comments or anything in the chat, or you can track us down pretty quickly online. But we're keen to help. As Dale said, we have a different motivation, and it's a long game, and massively enthusiastic to help caterers, public sector caterers, to create products that could be enjoyed by everyone. Doesn't matter what religious or cultural diets. Doesn't matter if you're a big meat eater or always have been. These are delicious foods that just happens to be made out of plants and are better for you, better for the environment. So there's a raft of new things coming through in the next few months, new products that we're working on that we're really excited about. Today, I mean, the English breakfast sausage that's in the video, it's brand spanking new. I think Dale might have had a demo version of it not too long ago, but it's a really exciting product. I think that if you haven't tried it, I'd welcome anyone to give it a whirl. So if there's any way we can be of assistance, we're keen to make ourselves useful.
Terrific, thank you very much. Right, I'd like to thank Dale, Barry, Devil's Kitchen, our platinum sponsor, and you too for joining us today. We will be uploading a recording of this session to the Plant-Based Week page on our website later today. The recipes are available, to remind you, on our website, but also on the devilskitchen.co.uk. And don't forget that we have a program of cooking demos running every day this week, as well as our webinar on Wednesday, May the 19th, when Dr. Rupi Aujla will be talking about culinary medicine and the secrets behind successfully developing and selling plant-based dishes. Details are on the slides that follow. Goodbye.